landing. All right, everybody, we are here at the Fix and Flip or Flip podcast, the Fix or Flip podcast, and we are here with our president of the Dallas office, Anthony Paulmeno, Stanley, the man with the plan, Stan
Hello.
the man, and we're going to just start this episode off with a quick little thing that I always do is I always introduce the cigar that we're smoking at Imperial Cigar Lounge here in Sugar Land, Texas. And this is the LFD, and this is the Solace cigar. And the reason I have this one is because this was one of the ones that's been in the humidor of the cigar lounge for a long time, and it had a lot of plume on there. Plume looks like kind of white fur, like fungus almost. And it's not fungus, actually. That's when the tobacco has been properly stored and aged, and really it tastes the best. Most people don't know. They just think it's expired or something. So they end up throwing away the most valuable, expensive, best cigars there are. So one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? So anyways,
my father was a garbage man, so I know that phrase very well. I lived it in New York City. My dad worked for the sanitation for 20 years. So
don't tell me that he came home with stuff that he's
absolutely. I can't even think. I mean, I was a kid. I can't even think of all this stuff. Most of it was like tools or shelving units. I had a TV once that he bought that it didn't even work, but he brought it home anyway. But anyway, get off topic.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, I have a cabinet in the church that I have to say I found it in my neighbor's garbage. I said, man, that's a beautiful white cabinet. And I made my kids jump out of the car and load it into the trunk.
Oh, that is hysterical.
And they teased me from it, but I guess I'm in good company with your dad.
Yes.
So
you never got a chance to meet my dad, did you?
No, I never have, unfortunately.
Yeah. He passed away in 2014. I think you were in China, but he was an interesting guy.
Well, hopefully I will get the chance to meet some of your other family members.
Yep.
I only know Helen and the kids.
Yeah.
But those of you who don't know Anthony, we actually did our first podcast together, but there was an echo in it, and I been working to get the echo out. I downloaded some softwares. I couldn't get the echo out. So we still have that, and we might air it. I just need to find a pro who can get that echo out.
Right.
And then Anthony went back to Dallas at that time, but he'll be back this week. And when you get down here, we can film again in person.
Sounds good.
So we're looking forward to that. But so Anthony and we had that podcast. It was great. It was funny. It was interesting. A lot of good information. Unfortunately, why is there a Uber Eats popping up on my
your notifications off?
I pushed the turn off. I think I pushed the turn off notifications button. But anyways, I did see an article the other day, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to cut to Anthony and kind of introduce a little bit about this article, what we were talking about. And you're going to turn off the notifications. Notifications is the top button on the camera there. Yeah, so Anthony, the floor is yours. Let's cut to you here.
Yeah, so I thought the article I'm referring to is from the Texas Standard by Alexandra Hart. She kind of was giving an overview on basically Texas real estate markets, and not only what this year is going to look like, but a lot of experts are saying that by the year 2045, that Texas will be the most populous state, which is going to, it's going to change the entire real estate landscape for where we live. I mean, we're seeing prices soaring in Texas. I've been here, 20 years now. Actually, this February will be 20 years. And my home alone, was increased in value just exponentially over the past 20 years, and it's going crazy. And Joe, I know you were just here for dinner with your family, but I told you that whole strip here in in Allen, it was used to be cows and horse ranches and cows, cattle ranches. And now it's all Olive Gardens and Macy's and J.C. Penney's. So it's just crazy what we're seeing in Texas. So one of the points that he was trying to make is that Texas is supposed to be the most populous state by 2045. And a lot of that's due to some different factors. You guys want to go over some of that stuff, what you read and some of the bullet points there that you saw? Oh, can't hear you guys at all.
Sorry, I was mic'd.
Oh, okay.
And not to get political, but I saw that they're trying to pass a law in Texas to legalize marijuana, and also it was two things, like legalize marijuana and something else. And I forgot what the second thing was. And I was like, and I commented. I put a comment up and I said, "Oh, please don't do that," because I lived in Oklahoma, and I saw that they said the study said an overwhelming of people, according to the University of Houston, polled, and the University of Houston had a poll. The overwhelming of people suggest that we have legalized marijuana here, and some other thing. It was marijuana and casinos, gambling. So not just casinos, but so gambling will be totally legal. So all the illegal gambling spots down in Bel Air, Katie does a new one, so on. So they said that
he's got a casino in his basement.
Stanley's basement. But they want to make gambling completely legal in the state and also legalize marijuana.
And do you think that's why there are a lot of people coming in?
No, a lot of people coming in because of the price of living in California, and also because of now because of the fires, okay. Right? But I said, don't do it. Listen, people are going to smoke weed and get high. People are going to gamble illegally. But as long as there's, a lot of rules around it, it stops the floodgates. I lived in Oklahoma where these things were legal. And there's everywhere you go, there's people walking around like zombies. The people are everywhere you go, they walk around like zombies. And I moved from China to America, to Oklahoma. And I went from a country where the kids are all A students going to the top universities. Kids are so sharp in math, it's unbelievable. 9-year-old kids could just boom, 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 without calculators, without using their fingers like Americans.
Wow.
And then I come to America and everyone's walking around like zombies. And the kids are what do they call it, twerking, and I just said, oh my God, look at a society in major decline. And then with the casinos, not only do you have all the young people walk around high like zombies, but now you have the casinos. Now you have the working fathers and oftentimes the mothers squandering away the future of their family and their children in the casinos. It's just I know people will have their vices and they'll do it under the table like a Stanley's basement.
Not my business.
and within those controls, a measure of it is a measure it is not going to create the same effect. But once you legalize, you open up the floodgates. And I said, please don't do that to my state. We're in one of the best states in the country. I mean, besides Florida and Texas, two best states in the country. With
Florida just had that vote. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Florida had that vote and they shot it down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so thank God for DeSantis.
Yeah, I'm hoping. The residents of Florida shot it down, and I thought it was going to pass.
Wow.
The elections here haven't been overwhelming. Florida has a bigger margin between Republican, and Democratic voters. It was almost 20%. Texas was, I think, 9 or 11%. So you would think Texas would have a wider spread with the conservatives, but so let's see. I mean, I'm hoping, Joey, I'm right there with you. It totally changes society. It could change a neighborhood in 20 years.
Oh,
you really could.
absolutely. Well,
So-
let's give it up for Florida.
Yeah.
Give a hand clap for Florida. And we got to do the same here. I've been getting the itch, and I don't know how, but I've been getting this, like, wanting to get more involved in politics. But maybe that's not my calling. I don't know.
We're not Joe Rogan yet. We're not Joe Rogan yet.
Maybe it's not my. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I joke around and say it's not my calling because I actually am a distinguished fellow with the Global Leadership for Development and Policy,
Right,
in Geneva, Switzerland. So but it's just been the season of my life has changed. I haven't been heavily involved, but I did recently sponsor one of my good friends to represent me in DC at the National Prayer Breakfast recently, which I heard was very powerful. But anyways, the people moving to Texas in between, the triangle, right? Austin, Dallas, Houston.
Yep.
That's the triangle. And they said that more people will be living in that triangle. Not only just the state of Texas would be bigger by 2045, right?
Yeah.
But that it will mainly be within that triangle where you live, where I live. So that's going to have a major impact on our business, and it means that for the next 5 to 15 years, if we work hard, we stay consistent, we engage the marketplace professionally, we're going to have a market share of that,
Wow.
But there was some concerns that came up on that. And I think, Stanley, you hit the first question. You said, why Texas?
Yeah, why Texas?
Right.
Why Texas?
Why is Texas projected to be the most populous state? Well, according to the article, they said economic growth. Well, first of all, Anthony, I don't know if you noticed, a lot of guys who are living, Patrick Bet-David,
Yeah.
Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Candace Owens. I mean, the list literally goes on and on. A lot of celebrities, singers, everything have been fleeing California, moving to Nashville, Tennessee, Florida, and Texas. Elon Musk has a plant here. Is he in Austin? His new plant?
Yes. Yep.
And of course, we got SpaceX on the coast, and he has offices in Austin. Patrick Bet-David moved to Florida. He's in Florida. So there's been the mass exodus leaving California.
Yeah, I mean, Austin has become basically a little Silicon Valley. I mean, it's not news to anybody. It's been slowly happening. And I don't know if you guys have, again, I don't want to get into politics, but Joey, have you been to San Fran lately?
No, you know what? Out of all the places I've been, I've never been Northern California. I've only been like Pasadena and then all the way into Mexico.
Well, listen, coming from New York City and living in Chicago, I thought those two cities, the skylines were the two most beautiful cities in our country until I saw San Francisco. And I used to go to San Francisco a lot for business. It was the aesthetically, I mean, it's probably the most beautiful city in our country. And it has just turned to absolute garbage.
Wow.
I mean garbage. I don't even want to talk about the stuff that I've seen.
Wow.
Joe, you talk about like zombies in Oklahoma. I'm telling you, the streets are just filled with human feces, needles. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting.
Wow.
So unless they fix that, and unless they fix the tax situation in California, I mean, people are just going to keep coming to Texas, to Tennessee, and to Florida. I
was getting calls all like last year, August, September, November. I was getting all these calls from California.
Mm-hmm.
People were buying houses here, not even looking at them. They would just have a real look at it for them.
Yeah, and I'm predicting, this is just me. I'm not looking at any numbers. This is just off the top of my head. But I'm predicting growth in a state like South Carolina. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen growth in, let's say 10 years. We've seen growth in Colorado, Arizona, North Carolina, Florida, and Texas. I don't know if I said Tennessee, but Tennessee as well. But I think as people are migrating from these high tax states like New York, California, Illinois. South Carolina is still relatively untapped, and it is beautiful there. And I bet you, if we keep an eye on it, I bet you.
Oh, I've been to Columbia. Columbia was beautiful. Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, Columbia, Greensville. I mean, Myrtle Beach. I think Myrtle Beach is in South Carolina, the golfing resort.
Oh yeah, I got a friend of mine. She's a sister in the Lord.
Yeah,
and she's a worship leader. She does real estate there. Last year was her first year, and she's been making a killing.
Yeah,
in her first year because there's just so many people coming down Myrtle Beach buying.
Yeah, beautiful part of the country. So I'm predicting that in the years to come, that's going to be like the new Tennessee. Not going to say it's going to be Texas or Florida, but it's going to be like Tennessee or Colorado, where you're going to see a lot of people migrating there because land is still cheap there. It's still a great place like to raise a family. But again, that's just my thoughts.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. So that's one of the main reasons, right? The politics,
Yeah.
We're not, trying to be political, but politics does affect the city. It affects the communities. It affects the families.
Economic growth.
It's not about what flag you hold, but it's really about the policies and how the policies affect us, right? And so people are leaving California because of the policies. People who actually voted for those politicians and voted for those policies, once they experienced the results of it, said this place is horrible to live, and we've done it to ourselves. So they're leaving, But Mel Gibson, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone left.
Right, he went to Florida.
Yeah.
But the problem that people are running into now, especially not just Texas, I mean, increased construction costs have skyrocketed. So there's only a certain amount of people from certain key markets that are actually going to be able to afford homes in Texas going forward. It's only going to be people like from California or New York, where they actually have the money, because home prices are, I actually looked at, moving to Colorado like 4 or 5 years ago, because I used to work for a company. Maybe it was like 8 years ago. But now Colorado's really priced out. Tennessee, you try to buy a house in Nashville, it's impossible. My daughter lived there for a while. It's impossible. It's so expensive right now. So the point is that there's only a certain amount of people, and people in California that own homes. Those homes go for a lot of money, and they can afford to move into these states. I don't know how or when these construction costs are going to go down.
Yeah, I was talking to Tom.
Yeah,
and we were talking about the cost of construction, and so that's kind of taken a little early turn on what we were talking about. But but the cost of construction. So one of the things we were talking about in the article was saying about the boom, the growth, and and we were just talking about the article didn't mention, but we were talking about the reasons why. But one of the reasons why also there's a big boom here, it's a no state income tax.
right.
And so that's the one thing that people get really excited about, the no state income tax. But at the same time, we do have pretty high property tax. Now, I don't know what is comparative to other places. And maybe more, Anthony, but what is the property tax? I know Illinois, people always complain was very high, the property tax there.
Oh, Joe, in New York, that's why I left. I mean, I left in 1995 because my daughter was 3 months old, and my grandmother had a house in Rockland County, New York. I don't know, maybe it was a small. The house might have been maybe, I don't know, 1,800 square feet. Maybe they had a half an acre to 3/4 of an acre of land. This was in the 90s. I mean, she was paying $18,000 a month.
Wow.
And not 18 grand, not a month. Forgive me.
18 grand a
year in property tax.
Yeah, which is, if you divide that over 12 months, that is another mortgage payment, actually.
Yeah, and that's in 1995.
95.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean that's crazy. So.
Oh my gosh.
And my property taxes when I first moved where I am at, it was 3,200, and it's up close to $9,000 now. Now my value of my home went up, but still, a lot of people, because of this influx of people coming over and the homes going up, some people, especially elderly people, are getting priced out because their property taxes are so high.
Now there was a nice law though in California, and the law was if you bought a house, say in 1982, you were taxed based on the 1982 assessment.
Yeah.
So as you get older and retire, and you're not working, not making money, what happens is your tax don't go up, so you can still afford the house. I thought that was, made sense, right? But now with all the houses burning down, they're reassessing the land, and now these elderly people are going to have a tax bill that's going to be more than what their mortgage was in the beginning. Like more than what the mortgage is now. The tax bill is going to be higher than that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's crazy, very crazy. So that's just something to
Didn't Trump mention something about Doge $5,000 tax return? Was that Elon
well, not
Musk?
a month. If that was a month, shoot.
Yeah, that's just a one-shot thing. That's
that's just to get you a new iPhone.
I don't even think
what's that about though? Is that actually happening?
They found waste and they cut all this additional wasteful spending, and they want to give some of those dividends back. At least 20% of it back to the American people. But in my opinion, it really should go towards paying down the debt. But that's just my opinion.
But the genius behind it is it's a double-edged stimulus plan.
Yeah, right.
It's a double-edged stimulus plan because we're going to cut the debt.
Right.
All that money, 80% of it is going to go towards the debt, right? 20% of it, we're going to pass it back to the Americans. They're going to spend. They're going to go shopping because Americans don't save that much. They're going to go shopping. So it's going to be like an economic stimulus plan that didn't cost us anything. Like all the other economic stimulus plans always cost the government something.
I see.
This one, they're going to say we're going to pass a portion of it on and boost the economy with it.
It's kind of genius, actually.
It's kind of genius, I think.
Yes.
But I'm going to take that $5,000 and put that towards my taxes because I'm expecting a little tax bill this year. I get right back. I just put return to sender, right? Put that against my taxes. But so one of the motivations though is that people come in here is that there's no state income tax, and the taxes are getting higher and higher. And there's a lot of talk in the Texas, and you might have heard something too, Anthony. I don't know, but there's a lot of talk amongst the politicians in Texas about pushing back on the property tax.
Yes, I did hear that.
Number one, property tax is unconstitutional.
Yeah,
I think we could all agree on that. I mean, me and you, Anthony, I know we would agree on that.
Absolutely.
You're drinking a Dr. Pepper. Let me see your drink.
Here you go.
Or you're drinking a Coke.
Coke.
Let me see your Coke. He's drinking a Coke. He may have paid $1 for this Coke and 17 cents for tax. It wouldn't make sense for you to have to pay 17 cents a year for the rest of your life for this Coke.
No, it wouldn't make sense. It would not.
You bought it in a one-time transaction, and now this Coke belongs to you. How is it that you could be taxed every single year on something that belongs to you? It's unconstitutional.
That is, yeah, right.
And they say the taxes are going to, the reason there is for the public services, for the education, for the school districts.
But that's not how I see it's being used for.
Well, yeah, but if you consider the waste in the school district, like Trump was saying that they just came out with the international statistics. American students are 50th out of the top 50 most educated children on earth. American children are ranked the 50th.
Yeah, we're pretty bad.
The very last. Because we're hip hopping and bebopping and smoking weed and dating, and being entertained and TikToking, while these other kids are going to school. Because I lived in China, I was a teacher. They go to school 8 to 5, then they go to after school till 9-10 p.m. And because you're Vietnamese,
right?
They didn't do that to you here probably, but back in Vietnam, that's what they do. They study day and night.
But are you? What about the the students that are influenced by influencers, they want to be influencers on TikTok, entrepreneurs. There's also those students too that drop out of college
to be OnlyFans. Do you know that?
Oh wow!
Do you know that I have 3 out
I'm
of
making a lot of money on OnlyFans, actually.
Do you know that I just saw a statistic that in America 3 out of 10 girls are OnlyFans models
That's crazy.
under the age of 24.
Wow.
So 3 out of 10 girls under the age of 24 are doing OnlyFans in the United States.
It's sadly,
statistics say.
Yeah, it's sadly the young society that.
You know, the truth of the matter is, and I'm not just saying this, I don't even really know what it is. Is it just like a peep show thing? I don't even know what it is.
It used. Oh wait, are you talking about OnlyFans, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
Well, it used to be like a Patreon, right? Until it became something more than a Patreon because of some social influences of other people that got really popular, and then because they got really popular, their content came from that website, and so a lot of people came into that website because of their popular content. So that's why
there are still a few people who just show recipes, cooking dishes, how-to tricks.
Oh, really?
On OnlyFans, but that's like maybe 1% of the content creators. 1%, The other 99%.
Can I make some money showing my penny on the vodka and my chicken parm?
You could, but just logging on, you're going to be flooded with pornography. So it would be better to use Patreon.
Yeah,
actually, you can sell your recipes on Patreon. Man, this guy's such a good cook. Unbelievable. You should come to our house Friday night.
Oh yeah, for the cook.
Yeah, for the cook. He's got penny on the vodka, chicken parm. So, anyways, Italians always get sidetracked and start talking about food. But I was saying that so they say that they keep on taxing us for the schools, but the schools are teaching our children are ranked the last on planet Earth, number 50 on the top 50, number 50. We're the last on that list, and oftentimes you send your kid to school and they got to sit on the lap of a drag queen and learn morals and things that are not even your values.
No.
And of course we homeschool our kids, so I'm paying tax for the school district and we don't even use it, so there's a lot of argument around that, but it's basically unconstitutional to charge property tax. I don't think we're ever going to see that abolished because it's really hard to go back.
Right.
Once you give up that ground to the devil, it's hard to take it back, but I definitely think we could push back on lowering the taxes and these type of things, and so there is a lot of push in Texas to lower taxes. Why? Because it's not affordable for a lot of people. So that's one of the reasons that article brought up.
Yeah.
Do you remember how the article talked about the affordability issue?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it had to do with construction costs, right?
Yeah.
So affordability and the interest rate hikes and there's such a demand right now, and they don't have the supply, so the costs are going up. But the taxes for people coming here is a plus, right? For the people that have been here for a while and you keep seeing your tax will go up, I mean, the best thing to do would be to sell your home and move to South Carolina because you won't have to worry about it. You take the money out, you make you have all this equity in your home, and you go to a place that has lower taxes. But the title of this show, the purpose of this show is for investors. We're talking to real estate people, entrepreneur, and part of your due diligence when you're looking to buy and rent out, or buy and fix and then flip, or buy and whatever your strategy is, or to buy and hold and gain appreciation, whatever your strategy is on this podcast on Fix or Flop. We have to consider in our due diligence, the price of the materials. And so something this article brought out is that the price of materials has gone up 43% since the pandemic.
That is a lot.
That is essentials like wood, copper, windows have risen 43% since the pandemic.
Wow.
So now that margin of cost is now baked into the home, right? Because the builder is not going to still sell the house at the price that he was building them for in 2020.
Right.
He has to raise it up 43%. which means sales go up 43%. So is it a surprise that if you look here, prices surged over 40%? You see how that matches exactly the 40%?
Almost exactly.
Yeah, so the cost of materials gone up 43%. House prices surged up 40%. So we're seeing almost identical numbers. And the reason why is because they still have to make the same profit margin for their companies, for their businesses. So when the prices go up for the wood, the wire, the materials, the windows, that's passed on directly to the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And now what happens now if people now have to buy the house at 40% more, and you live across the street and your house was worth 200,000? What do you think happens to the price of your house during that 40% increase in the cost of building?
It'll increase.
Your price went up too.
Yeah.
So if you look at the numbers, you see that equity went up in Texas 40%.
Mm-hmm.
On average, 40% in the last 4 years. So all the numbers are just they all line up is exactly the same, because materials cost 40% more, 43%. House prices gone up 40% more. I mean, they're selling now at 40% more, and that makes the value of your house also 40% more.
And
right?
and the average mortgage goes up 40% more.
So now, what can people do with all this equity?
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who live in Houston, you live in Dallas, you live in Austin, you live in San Antonio, you live in the Triangle, what can you do with that 40% equity? Well, you can tap into that equity through a myriad of programs that Anthony could talk about today. You could tap into that equity and you could participate in the fix or the flop. But what are some of the things that people, when they begin to talk along these lines or even think along these lines, their mind begins to open up? What are some of the first things that they might think or feel entering into that market of buying a property, doing a fix and flip, so on? What are the first things what are the first things, Stanley, in your mind, in your opinion, do you think that will be a barrier to entering into the fix and flip market for you or for anybody?
For me, I think it's funding.
Funding. Okay.
Money.
So, but you have a property and now it's 40% more. So you have some money.
Okay.
You have down payment, right? What would be the second thing?
I guess the if anyone's willing to buy.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's a big thing.
Mhm.
The fear of what if I get in there,
Right.
nobody wants to buy it.
Mhm.
Okay. But we're seeing there's a boom and
Mhm.
people coming down here purchasing. The market's hot. People are bidding. They're bidding, having bid wars on their houses. We do loans. I've had several loans about to submit, and then somebody else came and outbid them, and they lost the
I
home.
see.
So the market's hot. Dallas, the market's hot. Houston. So that's not an issue. What's the next thing you think
Another
about?
issue.
For you? You won't have the equity.
I don't have.
No, you have the
I have
equity.
the equity.
The market's hot. What would be another thing that might be a concern for you to start getting a loan and doing a fix and flip?
I mean, the risk itself, right? I mean, just the risk. There's a lot of risk involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, one of the first things that people say, and in my experience, 99% of the people call me up, they're worried about their credit score.
Okay.
My credit's not that good. My credit's not that good. I don't have enough down payment. A traditional bank, won't give me a loan because of my credit score. So we've come up with a solution for that, and I'll let Anthony kind of share about that a bit.
Well, we're off. I mean, I don't know what direction you want to go there, because
Fix and flip, a loan program that we've put together now for people that might have bad scores or low scores. They're worried about their score.
Don't we also do credit repair, Joseph?
Well, that's where I thought you wanted to go, because we can help.
We can do credit repair. I don't want to do it.
A lot of the programs that are offering right now, whether it's a fix and flip or a DSCR loan, which is purchasing a rental property, they're lowering their threshold of the credit score because they want to get more business. So there's a lot more opportunity right now. If you're a first time or a first time investor, or even a long time investor, the lenders that we're working with, they're basically bringing their guard down a little bit in order to get more business. There's a lot more programs out there that
Yeah.
are.
And the most exciting thing that I was hoping one of you guys would mention, I'm kind of letting you guys mention. I don't want to steal all your. I don't want to steal all your guys' thunder, you know.
Oh.
But we are now doing loans for people in this Texas region, not in the countryside. You had to be in a big city like Austin, Houston, Dallas. If you're in a major city like Austin, Houston, Dallas, we're gonna do the loan for you to get your feet wet, to get that fix and flip, or maybe you're experienced, but we're not gonna base it on your credit score.
Oh, I didn't know you were going there, Joe. Right. I didn't know where you're going. So there's no credit score.
No credit score. So you could have a 500.
Yes, we do have that.
You can have a 500 credit score, 400, 350. I've heard some crazy scores before. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How does it get that low? You know?
Yeah. So there's no credit check. There's no income verification. There's no appraisal fee.
No appraisal, period.
No appraisal. And the interest rate right now is right around 10.6. So for a hard money or a fix and flip loan, it's pretty good. I mean, at least in Texas, I haven't seen anything lower than that.
And don't you need like some experience for these types?
If you have experience, you'll get a better rate.
But you don't need it.
LTV, overall LTV and LTC. You'll have to put a little bit less money down. But for a first-time flipper that's looking to invest, you have equity in their home. In Texas, especially because of the lender that we work with, there's a lot of great opportunity. I'm sorry, Joe, I didn't know which way you were going with your question.
Yeah, so you don't have to have experience. You never had to do it ever before in your life. But of course, if you have experience, it's less risk, so you could put less money down. You could get a better interest rate. But if you have experience, you have to, you don't need as much leverage into the deal.
Right.
You don't need as much money down.
Yeah, I remember this from our last meeting.
So we're looking at about roughly 30% down. ARV. And for those of you watching, you don't know what ARV means. ARV means after
repair value.
Repair value. So that's after repair value. That's if it's $100,000 worth $100,000 after repairs, you put down 30 grand. We'll fund 70 grand of that case. That's just a number to give you understanding. 30%, and no appraisal needed. No appraisal.
The ARV is what they're going to sell it for after they're done with the rehab cost and the cost of the home.
Right.
Well, if you buy a home for $100,000, and then you put $30,000 rehab, it's $130,000. The bank's going to, cover a certain portion of that, but the ARV is if you could sell it for $200,000, that's what you're looking at. What's the ARV? So that's about to say $200,000.
Yeah. So Anthony, we'll let you go. You got to pick up Helen now.
Yes.
We'll let you go and pick up Helen. I don't want her to you showing up smelling like cigars and get me in trouble again.
All right.
But that's an exciting product. Thanks for being with us, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
And he will be here with us in the studio this week. So we're looking forward to that. We'll see you on Thursday.
All right, boys. Have a great night. Have a great rest of the show.
Have a good night. Thank
God
you.
bless. Let's give Anthony a hand clap, please. That's Anthony Paulmeno, the president of our Dallas office, and we are excited about getting that office up and running. And we're going to be having a rooftop party in the next coming months out there, inviting new partners. We don't need this anymore, so let's just unplug that. And that's for you. We're going to be having a rooftop party there, welcoming our new staff and new realtor partners and friends and all our new relationships there in the Dallas area. Come late spring. You can put your headphones in so you can hear.
That's right. No problem.
It's better. It's better. Come late spring. So we're excited about that. So yeah, with this loan, you're basically putting 30% down. And somebody asked me, Tom asked me,
yes.
I'm putting the screen down dark because we should look at the camera, not the screen.
Oh, okay.
But Tom, who owns this cigar shop, one of our friends, I said, hey, listen, no appraisal, no credit check, nothing like that needed. He said, "Man, that sounds like a scam."
Yeah, they're taking a big
Yeah,
risk,
yeah.
but there is a
Well, it's not a
collateral,
big
isn't it?
risk. It's not a big risk because
The lender.
no, it's not a big risk for the lender
Really?
because you're putting down 30%. So you're putting down 30%. If you default on that loan, what's going on, brother?
Hey, buddy.
I'm live on television. I'm sorry. Good to see you, though, sir.
Good to see you too.
Amen.
Great brother. These two brothers. Yeah.
It's not a risk because now they're going to get that $100,000 value property for 70 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So they could turn around, flip it to their investors for 75 grand, 80 grand,
That makes sense.
make $5,000-$10,000 and just get out of it because there's enough fat on the bone,
Mm-hmm.
enough meat on the bone.
Right.
So they're not looking at your credit score. They're looking at the strength of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they won't do it in Armadillo, Texas,
Mm.
or
Why,
You know.
why not Armadillo, Texas?
well, yeah, because it's not a big market. It has
Mhm.
to be a hot, thriving market. So we're talking about Austin, Houston, Dallas, Metroplex,
Mhm.
not just inner city Houston.
makes
I'm
sense.
saying the Metroplex, right?
Mhm.
Conroe, Humboldt, Richmond, Katy, all of these things, Pearland,
Mhm.
Dickinson, the Metroplex of the cities, because it's hot. A lot of people moving in, a lot of jobs, a lot of companies coming in, close to Galveston, close to SpaceX,
Mhm.
all of these things, right?
Right.
Close to Rice University, close
Right.
to
And Anthony
you know.
mentioned Silicon Valley in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Silicon Valley. Dallas is just crazy,
Mhm.
shooting up in value.
Mhm.
Frisco, like even where he lives in Allen, it was all horse ranches. And
Wow.
now if you went there, it looks like Cinco Ranch.
Wow.
It's just I can't even imagine that.
Developed. Yeah.
And it's just developing like that. So it's very, very low risk. So they're not looking at what your credit score is like. They're looking at the strength of the deal.
Strength of the deal.
And if you're not done your due diligence
Mhm.
and you're really kind of messed up on your calculations and you get into this project, hey, you brought them a good deal.
Right.
You brought our investors a good deal. So you default, okay, they keep that 30%. And then they go around and they turn around and sell it, make more money. So it's
Mm.
very little risk. It's very, very, there's limited risk, but very little risk.
Wow.
So you understand the psychology behind our investors with this?
Yes.
So you get in there and we're working with, Genesis, and she introduced us to her, and we
Mhm.
maybe have her on the podcast too. Remember from
Oh,
the meeting?
Genesis. I remember her. Mhm.
Yeah. We have this group that feeds us deals. They feed us deals that they've already went in. They've already checked out. They checked out the roof. They checked the HVAC. They checked out the termites. They've taken pictures. They've done a cost analysis. They have professionals run the numbers, and they have listings that are off the market. They're pocket listings off the market with all of the costs, all the expense. What's the ARV? You don't even have to have a brain. All you have to do is have some place to get your capital from, and that's where we come in. Casa Group Mortgage. Casa Group Investments. That's where we come in. You bring that leverage, you tap into that 40% equity that you've earned in the last 4 years, and you could participate in all the development and all the prosperity that is happening around you.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And I know there's another realtor that I have come in contact with, Claudia. She would also be a great help as well, because she also has access to that list.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And she actually invited me to another open house.
Well, she probably does she work with the same company?
Probably a different company.
So it's a different list.
Different list.
Yeah.
Totally different list. So
yeah.
expands even more.
Yeah. So
need
now
be.
there's even more opportunities, right?
Exactly.
So that's fantastic. Do you have any kind of like questions and stuff you want to go over today?
Questions? Oh, yes, I actually do. And I know there is going to be a refi boom coming up, right?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what are some strategies that we should use for people that are looking for a refinance? Like, I know there are people who are hesitant because it takes a lot of time and they don't want to deal with closing costs because they're trying to save money, right? But because there's there's some tax refunds coming in, like Trump's $5,000 tax refunds, maybe what are some tips and tricks that you would give me?
Yeah, well,
or at least help the customers, the clients.
Technically speaking, There is a law
Mhm.
that says you can't refinance somebody unless there's a net tangible benefit.
Mhm.
And you probably studied this in your exams,
Yes.
that there has to be a net tangible benefit to the borrower. Unfortunately, there's a lot of laws, that people don't follow. For example, when you give somebody, you approve them,
Mhm.
you should give them, and you get their 6 pieces of information, you should give them a loan estimate. And on that loan estimate, you're supposed to give them an idea of the costs. Well, a lot of people in the broker world, unfortunately, and some of the big kind of Asian ones here, right?
Right.
They will just lie on paper
Mm.
about the fees and the costs involved, the rate. And then they get you up until the day of closing, and then they switch on you.
Oh no.
That's horrible. It's horrible business.
And that's suable,
I
isn't
don't, yeah, but the thing is, they deal with Vietnamese, they deal with Chinese. And
it?
so they deal with a demographic that doesn't really know about the legal,
the legal.
all the laws.
Mhm,
They
the
don't know the
laws.
laws.
So
they
they
don't know how
just
to
feel
report.
stuck. Mhm.
They don't speak good English, can't read English well. So
Right.
they're kind of stuck. They're screwed. And so there's Vietnamese and Chinese people cheating their own people.
Oh wow.
It's horrible. I get loan estimates all the time from Vietnamese and Chinese companies, and they're like, they send it to me, and I'm like, hey, they didn't tell you what this is, they didn't tell you what that is, and I'm showing you the escrow for your taxes, your insurance.
Oh no.
And I said, and you're gonna come up to closing, and you're gonna be shocked. So mine might look higher,
Uh-huh.
but mine are honest.
There was a term for that, and isn't there a law for that? Truth in lending.
Yeah, Truth in Lending
Mhm.
Act. It's a big act.
That's a big thing.
It's like the biggest act,
Tilla.
but they do it every day,
Oh man.
and it's horrible. So another one of the laws that they're not supposed to break is they're not supposed to refinance you unless there's a net tangible benefit.
Mhm.
So people will try and just push people to refi when it doesn't really make sense for them,
Mhm.
because there are costs in the refinance.
Mhm.
And people don't really understand all this. And sometimes they feel overconfident thinking that they do, and they don't really understand it because it's a complex matter. And if you're not in that industry full time, there's lots of things surrounding that, right? I had
Right.
a guy call me today for refinance. I'm lowering his payment to $2,000.
That's quite a bit.
His payment is like $5,600. I'm lowering it to $3,600.
That's amazing.
And he was like, well, what about this? What about that? Are you blah, blah. And I heard this and I heard that. And I'm like, listen, I know you heard different things, but listen, I'm a professional. I'm telling you that this is the way it really is.
Mhm.
And your payment's going to be lower $2,000, my friend. Your score, his rate, I don't know what his rate is, was very high, but we're going to get you down to 6.427.
Mhm.
Right. So there's a net tangible benefit. He's going to save $2,000 a month, lower his rate. It's a major blessing for this guy's family. Right. But because of, misleading and different things that he's heard, he's a bit nervous, a bit apprehensive. So I'd say, okay, whatever, I'm not trying to press you. Whatever you want to do, you
Right.
can do. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there has to be a benefit. So I wouldn't suggest someone to refinance, honestly, if there's just a small margin of benefit. If the cost of the refinance is going to take you 5 years to recoup, just wait till the rates go lower.
Right. Mhm.
If you have, it's going to say you're saving $20 a month, and it'll take
Mhm.
you 5 years to pay back that $7,000 in closing cost.
Right.
Well, maybe don't refinance.
Maybe don't refinance.
Wait until you get a significant benefit that that benefit will compensate in a year or two max, something
And
like that.
don't we also have the ability to give lender credit for us? Like, let's say their rate is.
Well, that's what he said. He said, I heard that you could give me a credit from the bank, and that's going to cover all the costs. I said, absolutely. So here is your new loan, 8% interest, and your payment's now going to be $4,400. He said, whoa, no. I said, well, you want a credit. You think the bank's giving out credits like Santa Claus because they're charity?
Right.
No, the only way you get a credit is by having a higher rate. If you have a higher rate, they give you a credit back, and that can cover the cost.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so if that's what you want to do, well, no problem. I got you.
Oh, okay.
He's like, no, of course not. Hello, doctor. How's Dr. Harris behind us? So, does he really want to do that? Would you want to do that? Would you want to have an 8% rate and pay $1,000 more a month?
Right.
No, you'd rather say, hey, listen, I paid the closing costs with my equity, no cash out of pocket.
No cash out of pocket.
Is pay with the equity. You save $2,000 a month, and you have a good low score.
Okay, that makes sense. But there are some cases where there is a credit back, but depending on how the rates are, right?
Yeah, it's based on the rate.
It's based on the rate. Okay,
Yeah.
because I could have sworn on one of my files it was from 7.125, but then this lender was able to give 6.99 with a credit back of 11,000.
Yeah, that's because you give a higher rate.
But the rate that they're offering is 6.99.
Yeah, it's higher rate than what he can have. You could give him a lower rate, and there's no credit.
Yeah. The lower the rate, the less credit you get. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and if you can make the rate even lower, and if you make the rate even lower,
you have to pay more.
Then he's got to pay a fee for the rate.
Right. But there is a margin where you can still give them a lower rate and a credit back.
No,
correct?
No such thing.
Really?
So it's here. 0 is 0.
0.
0 is 0. If it goes up to a credit, rate goes up. If it goes down to a discount, they have to pay for that. So it goes 0 up or 0 down. Up, they get credit. Down, they pay.
I see. That makes sense. Yeah, I could have sworn on my file, because there was one file I have 7.125% interest rate, and then this lender was offering 6.99, right, with a credit back of 11,000 from the 7.125.
So you were charging too high in the beginning, and then you brought it down to 6.99. So if the 7.1, they would have a higher credit. 6.99, a little bit less credit. And then as you go down even lower.
I get it. Yeah, so there is a margin.
Well, yeah, it goes 0, starts at 0. 0 is called par, P-A-R, par. So it starts at par, and then it could go up an eighth, a quarter, and then you pay for that, however high it goes up. Or if you want to go down, then you have to pay to get it down.
Right. Yeah, when it passes that certain point, because
0.
Yeah,
0
0
is the point.
Yeah, because one of the lenders that I was in contact with, he was able to give a lower rate with a credit back. So I was wondering,
not lower than 0.
Not lower than 0, but
yeah. So you still don't understand.
Okay, go ahead.
0 is par.
Mm-hmm.
Not 0 rate, 0 price for the rate. So he can't go lower and give you credit. There's no such thing.
That makes sense.
To go lower than 0 is a price. They go over 0. So you just didn't understand what's going on.
Okay.
If you had on the loan estimate, say 7.25, and you thought that was par, and then the bank says, well, no, 6.99 pays you 11 grand. That means that par is not 6.99. That means par is probably 6.875.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. Now I understand what you mean. Yeah. So par was actually a lower rate. That's exactly. Not below 0. Yeah. That makes sense.
Par is not 7.1. Par is less than 6.9.
Based off of the current refinance rates right now. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. And that's the basic math. Sometimes you will see the rate sheets jump around a bit, and it's confusing. And so say, for example, one step down should be 2,000. The 2 steps down, 4,000. But you'll see one step down is 4,000. 2 steps down is only 2,000. And it doesn't make mathematical sense. And that's because sometimes there's something going on in the backside with the pricing, with the investors.
Right.
Like some kind of incentive type things that you're not seeing on the rate sheet.
Right.
So you always want to kind of just double check it. You might see it jump around a little bit, and you want to just pick whatever's going to be the best rate and the best credit. And most of the people I deal with, maybe 50%, 60% of them, 70%, they always want to buy the rate down a little bit. Well, let's make it 5.1. Let's make it 5.5, And they want to pay the extra cash and have a lower rate because they have the cash now, but they're concerned about the monthly payment. So they want the monthly payment to be low. They'd rather pay the cash now and have a comfortable payment.
Right. That makes sense.
A lot of my customers have a lot of cash, you know.
And I know some realtors give seller credit. Some realtors.
Yeah, that's not a seller credit. A realtor gives a realtor credit.
Realtor credit.
Seller gives a seller credit. Lender gives a lender credit. Dogs have dogs. Cats have cats.
Right,
Pigs have
right.
pigs, right? So a seller credit comes from seller.
Yeah, from
Lender
seller.
credit comes from lender, you know, right?
Right,
So
right.
a realtor can't give a seller credit.
Sorry, this selling real estate agent, the person that is
The seller could give a credit. And then your real estate agent could also give you another credit.
okay.
Because your real estate agent is maybe charging 3, 4, 5, 6%.
Mhm.
So they could give some of their commission back to you.
Okay. So that I was confused because when I was with Claudia, she told me there's also a seller real estate agent on the other side, and they're
Okay,
also
so-
able to give you a seller credit.
So that's not a seller credit.
Okay,
That's the realtor credit
realtor credit
from their commission.
From their commission. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the realtor, not
Yeah,
the seller.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
But the seller maybe is also offering a credit.
The person actually selling the home.
And maybe over half of real estate deals, sellers are offering to pay some fees for your closing costs. That's called seller credit. Most deals have a seller credit on it to cover the taxes, to cover a warranty, to cover these type of things.
It's more like an incentive to actually buy the home.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
away.
Yeah, it's part of the negotiation, the give and the take.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I don't think they really lose too much. They still make the sale, and they still have their margins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't like paying those 6% realtor fees. I can't stand it, you know. But I tried to sell my house without a realtor, and I couldn't sell it. I gave it to a
Not
realtor friend
easy.
of mine, Samuel Chavez, in Tulsa, and he had it sold right away.
Yeah,
so,
they're important.
You know,
Very important. Yeah.
I don't want to give them 6%, right?
Yeah.
If I got 30-40% equity and I got to give up 6% of it, man, I get cheap when it comes to that, you know.
I feel you. I understand.
But, you know, if you want it to sell, you go with a professional. They know what they're doing. And plus they put it out there to other realtors and other friends and other colleagues, and they're going to bring their customers to come see it too. So they're all helping you sell it.
Yes.
You know, so that's the benefit.
Yes, that is the benefit. So that's in some cases is definitely worth that 6%.
Unfortunately, you just got to part with it.
Yeah.
It's just the cost of the transaction. Right?
Once I get my first house, I'm gonna feel that. I'm gonna understand what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and maybe soon you'll be, you know, maybe soon you'll be kind of getting your feet wet in your first rental property, your first fix and flip. You know, it would be kind of an exciting thing for you to do.
For sure.
I have one Vietnamese student from the University of Houston right now that's buying in houses and selling them, fix and flip and rent them out.
Wow.
And he's just a student at U of H.
Wow. Where does he get
Yeah.
his funding from? He loans?
He works.
He works.
Saves up money, and then buys a house. And he lives at home, so he don't pay rent.
Does he do like tax auctions and anything like that?
No.
Okay.
He just buys a house with a realtor.
Wow.
Who's another Vietnamese guy.
Wow.
A realtor.
That's great.
You could do that too. You know, you could get 100% loan.
100% loan.
Yeah. No money down.
And then it's like just reinvesting essentially.
Yeah. You get the house, you put in a tenant, you know, and then you collect the cash flow. You could do it too. You could do it now.
I
If you got a 660 credit score, you know, all you have to have is 2 months savings to pay the mortgage for 2 months. That's the requirement. The loan was 100%.
Right.
Then you ask the seller to pay your closing costs.
Right.
So you're basically buying it with nothing.
Right. Oh, that makes sense.
And you don't have to pay afterwards for it because you put a renter in there.
Wow. Is that what he told you?
No, that's what people do every day.
Wow. Okay.
Those are the kind of deals we do every day.
Well, okay. That makes sense.
You could do it too.
I'm looking forward to that actually.
Yeah, you can't be helping everybody else out, not help yourself.
Right.
You got to eat too. You know?
Right.
It's like cooking, but not
just like what Josh is doing. Joshua, our last.
Josh
guest.
does it. Yeah,
Yeah, he does
Josh
all the time.
is young guy. Yeah, he does all the time. Yeah, his is even more incredible because he makes money off selling houses and never even buys them.
Yeah, he's a real estate
even
investor.
wiser.
He's an investor. Yeah.
But he don't even buy them.
He doesn't even buy them.
He just ties them up in a contract and then sells them to investors.
Wow.
So he spends zero money and makes 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand.
Wholesale real estate.
Yeah.
I heard about that. Have you heard about that, Joseph?
I used to be a wholesaler.
Really?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
made you stop doing wholesale?
the market crash. And I moved to
Would you want to pick it up now? Now that you
It's time consuming.
It is, right?
It's a lot of door knocking. You just can't sit at the house.
yeah, that makes sense. And then that's why
He gets up and he knocks
he
door
knocks
to door
on
to
doors.
door
I
to
remember
door.
from the last podcast.
And nobody tells him to. He's the owner.
He's the one.
He does it himself. Those kind of people will always be rich.
Because they're doing something.
Those who sit at home waiting for an opportunity will always be always be working for somebody, right?
Right. That makes sense.
But in our company, everyone is self-employed. You're 1099 self-employed.
Yes.
Anthony's self-employed. We're all self-employed.
Mhm.
And we eat what we kill, so
Mhm.
we got to go out there and kill. And we have the path, we have the proven method.
Mhm.
More millionaires are made by real estate than any other industry in the country, and we have a good team and brothers and sisters to give you advice and guide you along the way. And so it's a good environment that you're in.
Yeah, we have a lot of great loan officers.
Yeah.
Especially one, like we have a few that are like stars. Like I know I can name a couple.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Amanat.
Amanat, Alex is great.
Alex is great as well.
Yeah. And Anthony's great too. You're going to see him really excel.
Yeah.
So that's why we have him over our Dallas office. We're going to build up an office around him.
That's great.
I wanted to do that with Alex, but he's also got his car business. Quite busy with that,
He does have his.
And he did call me. I got to give him a call back.
Okay.
But anyways, guys, it's been fun hanging out with you all this hour at our Fix and Flop podcast. And we just want to thank you. So we want to thank you for watching, and we'll give you a little round of applause. Stanley Den, Casa Group Investments, non-trid loan mortgage broker, Joe Castillo, president of Casa Group Mortgage, Casa Group Investments. And if you have questions and comments, you need some advice or help, or you're looking to get pre-qualified on a loan, send us a message in the chat box in your YouTube. Go to our website is the best way, because we'll get emails right away. Our website is casagroupmortgage.com. If you got anything from this talk, this conversation, hanging out with us, please like and subscribe. And after you liked it and subscribed it, share it, so your friends, family, coworkers could also get value out of this podcast. We appreciate you, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, guys.
So this is Fix or Flip.